Welcome to another subconscious video. So with this one, there was a lot of stages that went through this piece. So I just want to talk a little bit about what went through this picture as well as the meaning of what you might see if you see something like this in your dreams. So for starters, let's talk a little bit about the definition of this type of thing as well as the process that went into this piece. So if you dream of trees in your dream, it could mean a lot of different things, including your hopes and your desires reaching for something that is larger than life or up to the sky. It could mean your life in general from start to finish, like a physical representation of that, as well as your own strength, your own desires, your own stability and potential, as well as your like seeing a different type of tree might also represent what type of desires that you might have or what type of strengths you might have, with there being different types of trees and different stages of their life forms, or even a tree that's like in this picture kind of towards the end of its life, kind of going through the stages of there being mushrooms that are growing on it, as well as the bark tearing or sort of deteriorating. That could be a meaning in and of itself. So if you see a tree that is in its young state, it could mean that you have brand new ideas that are coming to the table, as well as the start of something new that's going to happen in your life. If you, on the other hand, see like a forest of trees, kind of similar to some other topics that I had of seeing a forest in general, it could mean like wonderment or maybe even a sense of being lost, depending on how the trees are seen in your dream. If you see them at nighttime, that's then what it could represent being lost a little bit more, as well as if you see it in the daytime, maybe a single tree. Now, if you see a tree that is more fantasy-esque, kind of like in my picture, that's then when things start to get very interesting, and different ideas are starting to kind of intertwine into each other. So in this case, I had this vision of this elder dragon tree. Now, this is not the first time that I've had this idea. I've actually dreamt of dragons and trees being kind of fused together in the past, and a lot of that could be if you see something kind of fused together with a tree, depending on what kind of maybe movies or media you might be into, it could be influencing a fascination or an idea that is really deep inside of your head. For instance, I have had a dream before of a dragon tree that was completely made out of hyacinth flowers in the past, and it was kind of bush-like, but at the same time it was also like a giant tree. In this piece, I pictured a dragon that was very, very old and was towards the end of its life cycle. I find that adding the mushrooms kind of added a very fascinating kind of high fantasy, majestic, beautiful, and just a hint of eerie with this piece that we see, especially since you can see that the tree itself is decaying. And usually when you see mushrooms growing like that on a tree, it means that the tree is either on its way out, it's rotting, or that the tree itself is just very old, has been around a very long time. And I wanted to really show that with this picture. And that's actually what happened with me as I was doing this picture. And you'll notice that in some of this footage here, I actually started this picture off as a pencil sketch. I then took a picture of the pencil sketch. I took it into the iPad and I did like a quick color study of the picture. And then I printed out the picture and used that as kind of my color guide to the traditional piece. So originally I wanted this piece to be a traditional picture that was like a marker slash airbrush type of picture. So as I was going through the idea, I was really enjoying some of the techniques that were being applied to the picture, but I wasn't really feeling as much of a desire to work on it about halfway through. I felt like there were certain limitations that I had that weren't quite exactly what I visioned with this picture. And there's certain things that I felt got a little bit lost that I felt like maybe I needed to practice a little bit more and come back to it a later time. As I haven't used my airbrush in a while, so I feel like I might need a little bit more practice, although I feel that some of the techniques that I had a good idea of the direction I was going in, but not quite applying them exactly as I needed to. So that's when I brought this picture back into the digital realm. And I started working on it in Photoshop and then Clip Studio Paint. And then I decided I wanted to kind of bring back that kind of traditional quality, so I brought it right back into the iPad once again and finished up the piece in program Procreate on the iPad Pro. And that's when I felt like it really came together at the very end. And what I really wanted to achieve from this was something that was kind of influenced by the artist Stephanie Law, also known as Stephanie Mean Law. And I actually have plans of potentially seeing a gallery showing of her. So I was kind of thinking about her art style. Really, really good artist. If you haven't seen her work, I highly, highly recommend checking it out on her site. She's got a site called Shadowscapes. Such a phenomenal job with her high fantasy artwork. So I was kind of thinking about her, and I was also thinking how I wanted to add a lot of contrast, very high contrast to my picture, as well as a limited color palette, which you'll also see I created like a unique color palette just to this picture to keep the colors uniform all together in this piece. So guys, once again, hope you really enjoy like the detail that I put into this piece. It was such a rush, like an adrenaline rush of like really good motivation, really good ideas, and I really love sharing this with you guys. This is very, very close actually to some of the ideas that I have for my comic book, and I've actually been working on this really long and depth history video for my story, which you'll be seeing very shortly after posting this video. So this kind of gives like a taste of the general aesthetic of the fantasy themes that I want in my comic book Dreamscape, which just recently celebrated its 12-year anniversary. This right here, this is exactly the direction I've been looking for a very long time with my own story, so you'll be seeing more of this. And as usual, everyone, hope you enjoyed the piece, and sleep well, everyone.